The Ro's colossal success as a luxury fashion brand continues to puzzle a lot of fashion consumers. The most recent conversations surround whether or not this is some sort of social experiment or humiliation ritual for the rich and the celebrities who shop with the brand. Because how else could they rationalize spending $1,000 on basic looking flip-flops, $1,500 on a plain white tee, or even $950 on this polyester polyamide mesh bag? But then I recalled my own deep dive into the brand where I stated that Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen founded this brand as a means of providing high quality basics to the luxury fashion consumer. They saw a void within the luxury fashion space and they decided to fill it. And I think that is the absolute most important reason why they become so massively successful. And there was someone else who put this into perspective in a way that was hilarious, but totally made sense. I said they created this brand to offer these high quality basics to the bourgeoisie and the wealthy luxury fashion shopper because heavens forbid they were caught wearing non-designer labeled pieces with their other designer fashion. And that was very hilarious to me, but perfectly sums up why the Row is so successful. But it also had me thinking, before 2006, before the Row was founded, where did these wealthy bourgeoisie get their high quality luxury basics from? What were the brands they used to shop with? And I also wanted to look into some brands that I think were inspired by the Row to fill that void within luxury fashion, and those that I think are also going to get more success and fame just like the Row is getting because they solved that problem. From what I discovered, they used to just shop with these heritage high-end luxury brands. Yes, they did focus a lot on couture and ready-to-wear, but there was always a handful of pieces that could be worn as everyday versatile items. So maybe Chanel would have one button-down shirt in a collection, but the buttons would say Chanel, or maybe it had a chameleon. Or Gucci would have what seemed like a plain tee, but there would be a surprise in the back or frills on the bottom that was trending at the moment. And I think that now we are seeing more and more of these because the trend is towards minimalist, quiet luxury. But back then, it wasn't so much in abundance, but it was still there for the wealthy bourgeoisie fashion lover to purchase as their everyday basic item. Also starting in the late 80s, picking up speed in the 90s, and kind of mellowing out in the early 2000s was luxury diffusion lines. Now these are daughter or sister brands of the main luxury houses that allow their creatives, their directors, their designers to color outside of the lines of the brand's identity. But of course, the businesses behind these brands realized that they could also capitalize on this. And so they started to offer these designs that were being created at these diffusion lines as actual daily wear purchase items. So you'll find that a lot of these diffusion brands like DKNY from Donna Karan, Pierre Balmain from Balmain, there's Versace Jeans Couture from Versace, very popularly now and has been massively successful on its own is Miu Miu, which was a diffusion line from Prada. There is all the different diffusion lines from Ralph Lauren. You have Polo, you have Lauren, there's Max Mara with Sport Max, Max Mara, Weekend Max Mara. So all of these came about because of that, but a lot of their pieces were either casual pieces, sporty pieces, or as I said, less so uptight, high couture, high fashion kind of thing. And so these were very popular places amongst those who already love these luxury fashion brands. And still within the realm of luxury, there were always brands whose overall aesthetic or brand identity was that of simplicity, timelessness, trendless. And of course, the big two we heard on repeat over and over and over again were Brunello Cucinelli and Laura Piana, and they were definitely the go-to brands for this type of simple styles, these focus on natural fibers and just long-lasting pieces, which is definitely what the Row wanted to hone in on. And this is where we had people going to get those pieces before the Row was founded. I want to point out a few brands like Hermes, who we know for their highly expensive exclusive bags, their leather goods, their scarves, their shoes. But if you paid attention to their ready-to-wear, they've always been about high-quality, timeless, trendless pieces. Unlike the other brands, they do inject it with their designs with a lot of color, with a lot of history and story, and definitely things reminiscent of the equestrian heritage of Hermes, but they definitely have a lot of pieces that could have offered to the wealthy bourgeoisie what they really needed for versatile everyday wear. Then there was Celine, which is a little bit more fashion forward, but they still had styles that were minimalist, very refined. They focused a lot on tailoring, and a lot of their pieces were void of logos or overly identifiable styles, and therefore this definitely filled the void of having a high quality daily wear versatile piece in a designer fashion collection. There's Jill Sander, which is a German brand that was very popular in the 90s and still has somewhat of a cult following following to this day, but they were basically the Row of that era. They too had people confused as to why they were picking up so much traction as a luxury fashion brand when everybody was going full out. They were offering these overly simplistic coats, trousers, shirts, and everybody was eating them up. And I think it's because they definitely focused on precision tailoring and they focused on premium fabrics, which was a huge selling point for people who were looking for lifelong basics. Mid-range brands were the void fillers for most. They were the layover for those who could not fathom spending exorbitantly on the most basic pieces of fashion. There is a limit to how good a white cotton tee can get. You max out at some point, and so these wealthy or luxury fashion lovers used to turn to what were mid-range brands back in the day, like Banana Republic, super popular. There was J. Crew, The Gap. Ralph Lauren had, as I mentioned before, their different lines, but Ralph Lauren overall was also a brand that was highly sought after. And then we have the Row being founded in 2006. And while it might seem like it had a massive explosion of success over the last few years, I believe this had always been a slow build. They were hush-hush in some ways, but visible enough to celebrities and within the fashion space that there were definitely people who would take inspiration from them, not specifically in their designs or their styles, but the fact that they found this void within the fashion space and decided to fill it. And these are some brands that I think have been doing a great job of continuing to fill that void within this fashion space that the Row had found. What I'll start with is one that immediately rolls off the tongue every time we talk about the Row, and that is Kate. It was started 10 years after the Row by Catherine Hallstein, and the whole brand identity is about duality. The masculine yet feminine, the structured yet fluid, the strong yet soft, the subtle yet striking. Their words, not mine, but they've definitely fulfilled this premise with a lot of their styles. In my opinion, they're a little bit more expressive and conventional in their styles or their designs in comparison to the Row, but they've definitely still offered pieces that fill that void for people who look to brands like the Row. They are now just as much a household name in the upper echelons of society as the Row. Next up is a brand that obviously sits in the same category in my mind when I think of the Row, and that is the Swedish brand Chochem that was founded in 2014. So your classic tees, your button downs, your trousers, but as much as they have these simple timeless type of styles, they definitely put a lot of intentionality into it that makes it obvious that it's not just any brand, and definitely is why it's loved by people who also love the Row. Next up is a brand I'm kind of going to sneak in here. They are not as popular as the other brands I've mentioned before. You've probably not even heard them, but it's called Another Tomorrow, and they lean a lot more into sustainability, and I want to say their aesthetic is that of minimalistic elegant, and I believe that's why they're loved by celebrities like Kamala Harris, there's Angelina Jolie, Margot Robbie, and Gwyneth Paltrow. Speaking of Gwyneth Paltrow, another one that brand that I think is definitely filling the void of offering high quality basics, and I think was the same thought process as the Olsen twins, is Gwyneth Paltrow's G Label by her line, G Label, which is a line by her brand Goop. Before people started asking if the Row is a social experiment, it used to be Goop. People used to be wondering, who is buying those pearls? Who is buying these stones from Goop? People were puzzled about Gwyneth Paltrow's brand Goop. However, I believe that I'm definitely the target audience for their G Label line, which is their fashion line. So Goop does sell a lot of other items of fashion from other brands, and I definitely love scrolling their website. However, Gwyneth has started Goop's own line, and it definitely is very similar to things that Gwyneth would wear, and she is one of the persons I definitely look to for this minimalist, very chic look. And so I believe that her G Label line is very much in alignment with filling that void of providing high quality basics to the wealthy bourgeoisie who want to wear these simple pieces but still have a high-end designer label. Finally, for this list, the youngest on this list, I believe it's a year old, and the one I'm rooting for the most is Wrangly by Morgan Stewart. A lot of you might know her as a reality TV star. Some of you might know her as Dr. Phil's daughter-in-law, but I know her as one of my favorite fashion influencers. I don't know if she wants to be a fashion influencer or consider that, but she is to me, and I'm locked into almost all of her social media. However, I appreciate her for being comfortable and confident and grateful for being privileged. And she did the absolute best thing by starting Wrangly. And it too started on the premise of offering high quality basics to those people who are interested in high quality basics. But I think she's going to be massively successful, just like the Row, because she's not only filling that void, but she's going deeper to a more specific target market. Morgan is petite, and as much as definitely you can get like smaller items, I don't think certain brands or brands overall specifically tailor their items to suit a petite body, not just short or small. Like, there are specifications that are important, and I think because she is a petite person, she knows that the brand isn't just for the petite. It's not the average overly simplistic minimalist vibe where everybody is in beige, everybody is in off-white. There is some color, there are some fun pieces, there are some, as I mentioned, everyday versatile pieces. And I think because it's such a good brand with such good intentions behind it, I think it's also going to be massively successful. So I'll have my eye on them, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. I hope this was a good video. I know I rambled on to the end, but I couldn't wait to tell you about Wrinkly. Let me know in the comments what you think. Which brands are your go-to for high quality basics that are within the luxury realm? Until my next video, stay fashionably well and in good health.